I have done improv on stage and in classes, but never really in front of a camera.
You're improvising with your boss and the executive producer of the show and showrunner. So you're walking a little bit of a tightrope where you want to be spontaneous and in the moment, but you don't want to tick anybody off.
The temptation is to perform and to be clever and create in your head. But until you listen, you don't really know the tone. And that's important.
It has to come organically from the character, from the character's strong point of view. And the stronger that you can come into the situation and come into the audition with knowing who you are as that character, anything out of your mouth is going to be germane to the project.
You don't need a script if you have a writer right in front of you, like Larry or Bob Whitey or Larry Charles or any of the guys who were the brains behind the show.
I'm just there to let him land his jokes. And that, is something that sometimes a lot of actors forget, and they want to be the funny. They want to have the laughs and be the center of that story. And that was some of the things that I just had to keep reminding myself of. Let him be funny. How can you set it up for him to serve whatever he needs to serve for it to land the way they want it to land?
Larry's character, he's just reluctant to participate, to go along with, to not put a stop on things. So that will foster he's a great antagonist, even though he's the protagonist, if you will.
And he's going to push you, and you got to just stay with it. It's not, again, that's the yes and factor, right? So if he says something along the lines of like, hey, I want to give you tickets to come see my play, you can't say, no, I'm good. I don't like to go to Broadway. Scene over.
And I did have a moment with one actor where I was improvising and they were just questioning what I said, which is, and pushing back on it, which is sort of it's the cardinal rule of improv, is you cannot do that.
When people trust actors with improvisation, they can get some really great results. Not everybody's willing to do that, because many, of course, projects, they're married to the word. And I get that, all different projects have different parameters and different artistic needs.
It's just the willingness to play. It's a great opportunity to really have fun as an actor, as opposed to, there are shows where the lines, like, having worked on West Wing, the lines are music. It is Shakespeare. There's a rhythm. Do not screw with that, and then, or, right now I'm on The Lincoln Lawyer, you can't make up, sustained or overruled, or, there's certain legal terms. Like I had one the other day about being remember your admonitions, jury. There's things that you can't, that is no time. There's no room for error. And that's what's so great about this. It's like a time to play, a time to really dig in and have fun and get in there and do something different.
If you have to go on a set and you're going to have to improv, there's nothing wrong with writing some things down, having some stuff in your quiver, getting ready to throw out. If you know you're going to be a police officer and you're going to improv, have some police officer things, the police officer stuff that you put in, like, I'm going to have to handcuff you. I don't know, anything.
Some people want to be very prepared. I don't want to have a lot of time to play with it, because then I start inventing and creating stuff that I think might be funny or might work.
I think it's kind of one of those things, like, you just know if you are of that ilk, if you are one of those kind of people that can do that, or you have the desire to experiment with it.
You're either comfortable with improv or you're not. But and if you're not, well, then you probably shouldn't be doing the show.
But improv is really just not denying the situation, saying yes to it, having fun, and not being afraid. I know a lot of people are afraid of improv, but for me, improv is way easier than learning someone else's lines and trying to figure out which way they're going, because you know which way you're going to go. You're your own producer, director, and actor all in one.
You never want to find yourself going into an improvisational situation where it's nothing you've ever done, because it is not, just like reading lines and learning lines is not an easy thing to do.
At the time, being a 13-year-old, I had no real conventional improv training.
I was worried in the beginning. I have two friends who've been on the show. So I actually went to lunch with them and I said, what am I going to do? And I said, I only have one level of Upright Citizens Brigade. And he's like, what are you kidding? You have Meisner. And I said, oh, he says, just bat the ball. You've been doing this for a long time. Easy peasy,
I'm not an experienced improver, but I am an experienced actor, and I am trained in, the classic sort of action objective kind of thing. And that kind of thing, I don't know if it's out of fashion anymore, but it will drive you. It will take you.
My beginning and training and doing improv actually came when I was doing theater.
Well, I had started out in experimental theater in my salad days, where improv was very much a part of the discovery process. They would have you do a scene in gibberish and see if you could get the meaning there. So I had had a lot of experience training in these sort of unorthodox ways.
I feel a little bit lucky because I grew up in a family that worked this way. My father was musically, he was improvisational. There was structure that allowed for the improvisation. And so I had a kind of a shorthand and a language already built in for that.
Because I guess my preparation is, being a stand-up and being on stage. And I had a show at the Ha Ha Cafe with Buddy Lewis every Wednesday called Whacked Out Wednesdays. And so we both were on stage improving.
I am a stand-up comedian, and I also had been doing improv and sketch comedy classes. So the rule is yes and.
Thankfully, I took a lot of improv, like comedy improv, when I first came to LA.
By doing Meisner for over 10 years, you learn to do improv, because you're standing there, you don't have a script, and you're working off the other person. So that, if you have any Meisner, it's a huge bonus.
Yasu. That's improv, you see? My dog is doing yes and. My dog just jumped right in.
Improvisation is to the yes and approach is how I think everyone should live life. This is a way to create tolerance, humor.
Comedy improv is one of the best tools you can gain in your training to survive in life later on, whether it's negotiating deals or business deals, negotiating for yourself. You understand, you read the crowd, and you quickly realize who, what, where, what is it that you want. But there's a sense of fearlessness.
If yoga gave me nothing else in my life, it's being present breath by breath. So in a lot of ways, yoga has become a very strong tool in my acting kind of toolkit, because you have to go with what you're being given and what's present.
It is something that Alan Alda actually taught scientists. So improv was a way for them to loosen up and really receive and feel their audience and recognize if they were connecting with their audience.
Mike Nichols, as an example, one of the great directors of all times, he in the middle of rehearsal will make you switch parts with whoever your acting partner is, so that you don't become attached to your way of saying something or your expectation of something. So it would be, he would make Martha and George. He would make Martha be George and George be Martha. He thought it was also a really good way to make actors start to listen, because you're really going to listen. And that is the thing about improv. Boy, are you listening. Your ears are like fine-tuned. You feel like a dog by the end of the day, where you can hear invisible sounds because you want to be so present.
And that's what acting is listening and connecting to the other person. It's not about the grand scheme of what the show is going to be about, or you can't think that. You have to think about very specific points and being very simple, communicative, listen and prepare.